Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. Tonight, we're here. It's now the fraudulent Super Bowl week. Super Bowl, what is this? 53? All
Yeah.
I know is I see Super Bowl lie. Uh, but Super Bowl 53 is this Sunday. I won't be watching. I decided to instead watch something else that's far more entertaining. It deals with corruption and dishonesty and someone illegitimately in a place of power in a stadium, Gladiator. And, then I'll watch the Godfather movies, but I am not watching the Super Bowl at all. I'll find out who wins like everybody else does on Twitter. I really don't care one way or another what happens in the game, although I would enjoy seeing the Rams get humiliated. So people will say, well, you know what? The Saints probably would have put a better game up than these guys. For the most part, I'm not watching it. And don't say, oh, you're a football fan. You can't not watch it. I didn't watch Super Bowl, whatever one it was, with the Eagles and the Patriots. I did see the highlights later on where Donovan McNabb threw up in the huddle, but I did not watch that game. I was at Disney World that day. Most of the Super Bowls in the 80s, once they became blowouts, I didn't watch that crap. I honestly cannot remember anything that happened in the Denver Broncos, Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl, because I don't think I really watched that. So it's not that hard not to watch a game. So that's me. That's how I'm going to be. Anyway, how you doing tonight, Sean? I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, by the way, for all those newcomers. How you doing tonight, Sean Williams?
I'm doing good, man. I'm all as everyone can see, I'm practically all healed up now from my little mishap on the night of the game. But we want to thank Fan First Productions for sponsoring us. We want to welcome everyone, as Alan said, to the Under the Dome podcast. We love our followers. Invite you guys to be involved in the live chat on YouTube and subscribe to our show on iTunes and on YouTube. No, I cannot forget, and I didn't make this on my notes, but I'm gonna. We want to wish a 1 day late, very, very happy birthday to a guy that he, as much as Alan and I makes this show happen, John Pinto. We hope that you had a very awesome birthday, brother. You deserve it, and thanks for all that you do. Also, anytime that it's John's birthday, it's also a very special day for me, as yesterday I celebrated my 5 years cancer-free mark.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's awesome. It's awesome. Everything's working out good. I have my yearly tests, I believe, in either March or April. I got to get that paperwork and figure that out again. But moving right along, the only thing worse to me than an absolute farce lie of a Super Bowl, and this just goes to prove how very much I had going on Sunday. The only thing worse than what we have to look forward to for a Super Bowl is what we got to watch that they labeled as a Pro Bowl. That was absolutely, without a doubt, that's like listening to a little old man tell a joke that rambles and he has to stop and correct himself and he keeps going and you're trying to be respectful. So you see, and then he gets to the end of it and there's no punchline. You have Ezekiel Elliott and Alvin Kamara playing edge rusher. You have Ramsey from Jacksonville catching a touchdown pass. You have his name escapes me. The wide receiver from Tampa.
Mike Evans.
Huh? Mike Evans. You got Mike Evans playing cornerback and getting an interception. I'm a traditionalist. There were very qualified cornerbacks, edge rushers, and all of that didn't get snaps in the Pro Bowl for you to be cute. And I don't respect that. You know, I have nothing but absolute and total respect for Kamara and Ezekiel Elliott and Ramsey and all those guys. And I know that they were just having fun, and I know that that's supposed to be a part of it. But in the process, in my opinion, you disrespected the guys whose positions that these guys played. Not to mention that it was played in an absolute deluge. So I turned it on and I saw the weather and I thought, oh my God, get all the Saints out of there. Then I remembered, well, we don't play next week, so they'll have plenty of time to heal. Well. But Kamara was there. Pete was there. Warford was there. And Cam Jordan, which they needed to let Cam Jordan throw a pass. If they'd have done that, I'd have been okay with it, but that didn't happen. So I didn't appreciate the way that it was handled. But, you know, that's just me.
Well, you know, it's one of those things where it's a game that the players don't play with any level of intensity. So there's very little fan interest in it. I mean, they're cutting up on the sideline. It's like watching a preseason game. It really is. And it's I don't know how to fix it. They've tried different things to make it work. And they tried the whole, you know, well, we'll build a fantasy football team where it's not no longer AFC versus NFC. We'll actually mix and match players and, you know, former players as coaches and all these other things. It just doesn't work. That didn't work either. And I don't know what the solution is other than, you know, you can't do this, but play it in the middle of the season like Major League Baseball and the NBA do. But the physical toll it takes on the players, you know, they're not going to play with any kind of intensity.
Well, I can respect the like premature whistles to protect the guys and guys, deep 300-pound defensive linemen running up there and just kind of doing this. I get that. Nobody wants to get hurt playing an all-star game. And my only thing that I didn't like about it was, like I said, you had guys that were sitting on the bench that spent a whole year earning the right to be there, and they were sitting on the sidelines for you to be cute. And I just that bothered me.
Well, I mean, again, they're trying to make it fun and different. And part of, you know, like in Major League Baseball, you know, because to me, that's considered the gold medal standard of the gold standard of all-star games. They do things with alumni. They do things with you know, the All-Stars, with a home run derby and a lot of things that interact with the fans and so forth. You just don't get that in the Pro Bowl. And years ago, they used to play it a lot more seriously than they do today. And I don't know what's happened today to the players, but, you know, I watch a lot of NFL films. You watch NFL films from the 60s, and, you know, like Gino Marchetti took out some revenge on Dr. Frank Ryan, the Cleveland Browns quarterback, when he felt like the Browns ran up the score on the Colts. in a playoff game, and he says, "Look, you don't do that to us, and I'm going to get you for it." And boy, he tagged Frank Ryan in the Pro Bowl game. You know, you see Frank Ryan staggering around like somebody, you know, took a bat to him, and it was Marchetti. He took it. He exacted his revenge in that game. You know, Jim Brown was the MVP of the Pro Bowl his final year in the NFL. So his last game of his career, he walked off as the best player in the field, and he played that game seriously. In the 70s, they played it a lot more seriously. I don't know what's happened other than the fact that perhaps free agency has kind of taken away a lot of the loyalty, I guess, players have to teams, you know, where it's not a big deal that you're there with your teammates anymore, because half these guys are lobbying for other guys to build superstar teams or whatever. I don't know what it is, but the players, the way they play the game hurts it a lot. And until you fix that part of it, I don't know how you can make the Pro Bowl interesting. And I just don't waste my time watching it.
I think that moving it the week before the Super Bowl, trying in an effort to try to keep people tuned in on your product on a weekly basis, I think that was a mistake. It should have been the week after, like it's always been. They should have never moved it from Hawaii.
Well, you take all the Super Bowl participants out of the game by doing that. You know, that's the other thing that hurts. Because you've moved it to that week before the Super Bowl. Now, all the Rams players who could have gone, all the Patriots players that could have gone, they're not there, you know, because they have a game the following week. So, yeah, I can see that. I agree with you on that.
Well, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't really see the point in it. Of course, there again, it was a blowout. So, but it was football. And
it doesn't have to be competitive. You just want to see an interesting game. You know, you don't, and it's just not interesting to watch. You know, and free agency is part of that. There's no more AFC, NFC real rivalry, which is why they tried the ultimate fantasy football team to try and generate interest that way. You know, and it didn't work like that. I don't know what it's going to take. I do know the players skipping it hurts the game. It does.
I absolutely hated that ultimate fantasy football idea. That had absolutely no appeal to me. No. So the latest in the continuing no-call saga, there was some sort of court action or deposition or something yesterday, I understand. And His Royal Highness, or as I refer to him, Der Fuhrer, Roger Goodell, the comment.
No. It's his ass holiness.
Yeah, well, okay. I can go there too. He made the comment that the reason, if I understood this correctly, now I haven't done in-depth research on this, but I just kind of noticed it in passing. If I understood it correctly, he says that the reason that he can't make the teams have to replay the game or even the last minute or whatever, the reason for that is because that would delay the playing of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So you get screwed. Tough crap. You're out. We'll try to do better next year. Hope you get there. That is unacceptable. That is absolutely unacceptable. You made a mistake. You cost this team. You cost this fan base. And there's absolutely no recourse for it. That is unacceptable.
You know, I honestly didn't expect them to replay the game or replay even the last minute and a half of the game. It's happened. You can't reverse time.
No.
What outrages me is we have not really seen a fallout in among the league or within the league because of this. We have not seen those officials all fired, for example. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen Goodell come out there and say, no, this is unacceptable. This is not how I want, and this is how he should have said it. This is not how we want our game to be perceived. We will make adjustments and corrections to take care of this. Instead, he backed the shield and just said, oh, well, things happen. Officials, what they rule in the game is law, and, there's just nothing you can do about it. And all that does is piss people off. You have to take ownership of the mistakes, and you have to offer remedies, whether that's a sacrificial goat in the form of Bill Vinovich getting fired, whether that is a token, hey, we're going to get with the competition committee and we have some suggestions and we're going to try and remedy so this never happens again kind of thing, and call it even if you want the Saints rule, just something to appease the fan base. They act like, hey, man, bad calls happen. We can go to the Immaculate Reception. We can go to, did Drew Pearson push off in the
Hail Mary.
In the Hail Mary play? Was Renfro really inbounds against the Steelers in the AFC Championship game?
Did Dez catch the ball?
Yeah, did Dez catch the ball? They act like this is just another one of those things. And I've been arguing with these people all week on Twitter, on Facebook groups and things like that. And I said, you don't get it. The ones who keep saying, hey, man, bad calls happen. They missed a face mask on golf. That's my favorite. They missed a face mask on golf. And I keep saying the same thing. It's not that the bad call happened. It's when the bad call happened. You altered the outcome of the game by doing this. And this is a repeat from last week, so I apologize for everyone's already heard my rant before. But the reality is, I said this to myself because no one wants to be in the house with me when I'm watching the game because I'm a lunatic. But anyway, I said when Ted Ginn caught that 43-yard pass, one more first down, and the game is over. I will get my dog to verify that I said that. But, yeah, I mean, it is. One more first down, this game is over. So they need to get a first down. That play was so good that Nickel Roby, whatever the hell his name is, was beaten so badly that all he did was go after the player. He admitted he went after Lewis because he said, I'd rather give up the penalty than give up the touchdown, which is a perfectly rational explanation. You think about in basketball, foul the guy rather than give up the easy basket because he may miss the free throws. It's the same principle. You don't know what's going to happen, but you've given yourself one more chance if you commit the penalty. So I'm not blaming the Rams. I'm blaming the officials because that call that you have to make because it's so obvious. It's not disputable. This is not, did Rob Lytle really fumble the ball in the AFC Championship game against the Oakland Raiders, the Denver Broncos, 1977? Did he really fumble the ball? I said he did. The Raiders say he did. Ed Marion, the head official, said he didn't. Did Frenchie Fuqua touch the ball, or did Tatum touch it? Tatum said he didn't. Fuqua says he didn't. who really touched it. Well, the video evidence sure looks like Tatum touched it, and that's how they ruled it. It's a debatable issue, okay? This was not debatable. There's not a single person. Well, hang on. We are now in the spin zone that's happening on Twitter right now. Some clown out of Chicago took a very special angle to argue that the ball was tipped, despite the fact that physics and other camera angles dispute that.
Was his name Jim Garrison by chance?
I don't know who this guy was. His name was Jim, I think, but I don't remember what his name was. But the video is taken from behind Drew Brees. He's throwing the ball, and you can see, I want to say it's Aaron Donald, but it may not have been. That might have been Sue, who reaches up and tries to touch, tries to bat the ball down. And from that angle that this guy used to argue his point, because it's a two-dimensional image and we cannot see depth, it appears that the ball in the Rams player's hand are on the same plane. So the ball is going just over his hand. The problem with this is if you touch the ball at all, graze it or anything as it's going past your hand, you're going to alter trajectory and you're going to alter velocity. That ball should, from being tipped the way his hand was, with his hand up, should have started going end over end, for example. Or should have slowed down its spin and gone maybe, however he held his hand. I'm trying to picture how this hand must have been. Started going towards, I guess, the thumb side, moving away from him and coming down at a much angle. When you watch it, though, from the other angle, from where Lewis is, you can clearly see, and this is television replay, this is not doctored stuff. You can clearly see the ball was, the Rams player had to be 12 feet tall to touch his football because it went way over the lineman's hand. And it comes on a straight arc. The velocity of the ball, the spin of the ball does not alter whatsoever. And it falls and hits the ground right where Lewis should have been to catch the ball. So,
I didn't have a problem with the defensive back because that's the position that I played. I was cornerback. He did what every cornerback that has ever played the position was taught to do. You get beat.
Yep.
Don't give up an uncontested. I don't care if you've got to grab his face mask and drag him off the field. Don't give up uncontested points. I didn't have a problem with him until he took his newfound notoriety and decided that everybody needed to hear his voice. I've seen videos of him running his mouth. I've seen these things that these interviews that he's given talking about how the Saints played and all this and all that. It's real easy to stand up on top of the pile of bullshit that resulted in the end of that game and crow about how great you are, especially considering you are nothing more than a backup that is only getting to play because somebody in front of you got hurt. I hope somebody breaks his face in half. I hope he has to type stuff out in Braille to do a post-game thing because his jaw is wired shut.
I said this to you off the air. He's Larry Brown. He's a guy who's in the right place at the right time so people know who the hell he is. In a defensive backfield where you have Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, who's the cornerback everyone wants to talk to right now? A guy who committed pass interference and got away with it. And he's constantly running his mouth. He's talking crap about Tom Brady being old and not being as good as he used to be. He said something about how, they outplayed the Saints. They outcoached them, out-schemed them. I'm like, really? Look at the statistics. The statistics show we're almost dead even. You scored 20 points. We scored 20 points. How the hell did you outplay and out-scheme us? It was almost dead even. You missed just as many opportunities as we did. You kicked a field goal on 4th and 1 on the 1-yard line. That's not out scheming anything. It's a battle between two evenly matched teams in a championship game. Again, that's why that penalty was so huge, because it was a non-call that directly impacted the final result of the game.
People approached me leading up to that game and said, "Oh, I can't believe how nervous I am." Well, you ought to be nervous. It's the two best teams in the National Football League squaring off, and anything can happen. And as it turned out, it did. And you made the comment a few minutes ago about appeasing the fan base by looking at the rules committee. My problem is not being appeased nearly so much as your grand poobah that's sitting up there becoming a billionaire, that's supposed to be in charge of the asylum. I don't want to be appeased. I want to be acknowledged. And until he made
Go ahead.
Until he made the comments that he did in that deposition yesterday, he has not opened his mouth. And I saw a press release earlier today where it said that Goodell plans to hold a press conference around the Super Bowl in reference to the no call thing. Well, that does the New Orleans Saints a hell of a lot of good.
I know. Unfortunately, short of pulling the Rams out and putting the Saints in, you really aren't going to appease most people. So all you can do is, how can we make sure this doesn't ever happen again? And that's what I'm talking about. That's how I'm looking at it. It's frustrating because you feel like how the Vikings felt after the Drew Pearson Hail Mary catch. You feel like your entire season was wasted. And it hurts us more because of Drew Brees' age. He's 40 years old. We look at him and say, how many years does he have left playing at this level? And you couple that with, you went 13-3. You once again tied your best record ever as a franchise. You secured the number 1 seed for the second time in franchise history. How hard is that going to be to do that again?
Exactly.
That's the things that anger Saints fans even more, because unlike the 2011 49ers Saints playoff game, or the Minneapolis Miracle, or take your pick of a playoff loss, it wasn't the play on the field, a mistake by the Saints themselves, that cost them the game. And I don't want to hear about Drew Brees' interception in the playoffs, because in overtime, because that's an issue too, that they missed a call. That ball was not tipped either. And you should have at least thrown the flag for interference against Michael Thomas in this case, to at least give yourself an opportunity to talk about, was the ball tipped or was it not, and you pick up the flag. But all that aside, it shouldn't even come down to that point. It wasn't a mistake that the Saints players made on the field that cost them the game. This was a mistake by officials that cost them the game. And that is the big difference. Again, playoff games, especially between two evenly matched teams, come down to a handful of plays, not 60 snaps or 70 snaps. How many snaps you think could happen in a regular season game? So you can point to, this is an opportunity that was missed. This was an opportunity that's missed. This was an opportunity that missed. And it's less than 5. And if I go and say, but of the 5 that were missed opportunities, this one here, because they missed a pass interference call against Ted Ginn, that's one opportunity that was lost. This one here, because they missed an opportunity, they missed a pass interference call against Tommy Lee Lewis, that's another opportunity gone. And this one here, a missed pass interference against Michael Thomas because they believed it was a tip ball. That's 3 of the 5 opportunities they may have had to win that game. So it brings it down to 2. So you're demanding perfection to overcome the opportunities that you expect to have taken away from you because of official error. That sucks. You can't do that. Not in a championship game. Not with the technology we have. That's unacceptable. We have the technology to correct these things.
Yes. At the beginning of that game, I watched the opening drive. Boom, 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 boom. Stall, kick a field goal. I kind of cringed a little bit. Then Davis gets the interception, sets you up inside the red zone. Stall, kick another field goal.
Well, he had a drop touchdown. I mean, that's an opportunity that we missed.
Yeah, Dan Arnold.
Dan Arnold dropped a ball that he should have caught.
Yeah. But, it's all, like I say, I believe ultimately the game should be decided and won or lost on the field. My team lost. I'm bitter as hell. Not necessarily with the fact that we lost, but partially the way that it was lost and the way that it's been handled since. I don't think that, just like Ben Watson said in his open letter to the commissioner, his handling of this is unbecoming to the position that he holds.
Well, you can't be silent about it. You have to address it because everyone's talking about it. That's what's absurd. It's not like it's just us, Saints fans, bitching about it like the Vikings fans do. Whenever they bring up 2009, they're the ones that bring up all the so-called illegal hits and the bounty and everything else. The people who are talking about the game have no stake in whoever wins or loses. They look at that play and say, how can you miss that call? That's the difference. There's no judgment on this.
No. I just want it to be, if it was the New England Patriots, if it was the Los Angeles Rams, if it was the Pittsburgh Steelers or, one of the New York teams that this happened to, one of these major market teams, hell, we'd have had press conferences every day for a week. But because it's a small market team from the middle of the country with a limited fan base, they pretend and they act like it doesn't matter. And I resent that.
Well, and I think they made a miscalculation and thought it would just go away. After a week, it would die down and they wouldn't have to address this in the Super Bowl. But the fact that it's kept on and kept growing, that's the problem they have right now. And that's also the issue that he has to figure out how he's going to address this. And each answer he gives, trying to downplay it and get everyone to move on away from this only makes it worse.
Yeah.
He's a PR nightmare. He really is.
And see, he's in a position where it doesn't matter because he has a guaranteed contract.
Yeah.
For more than what some of the salaries are of these teams is what he's getting. I think, what was it, $500 million? For 20. No, it was like a 5 or 10 year extension for $500 million, something like that.
Yeah.
There's no accountability.
He makes the owners a lot of money. That's the main thing.
Come on, that's a cop out, man.
But he does.
I got a 9-year-old daughter. I could point her commissioner of the National Football League, and they would still make money hand over fist. That is not an excuse to me, man. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying it's an excuse. What I'm saying is he does what they want him to do. He is not a Pete Rozelle. He is not an innovator. He is not. All he's interested in doing is finding out new ways to make the owners more money. He's not about making the league the most popular sport in America that Pete Rozelle did. You know, in fact, he undoes a lot of Pete Rozelle's ideas. You know, the Super Bowl used to be played in January. It's now going to be playing, if they go to an 18-game schedule, it's going to be played in mid-February. You know, the playoffs used to be in December.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the thing it's interesting to me is the season's getting longer and longer. And I don't know if it's necessarily getting any better. It never occurs to him, for example, and these owners, that the product they're putting out on the field is increasingly watered down. That doesn't impact them. In fact, what disturbs me is if the Rams win the Super Bowl, the new pattern will be to try and build a super team to go to the Super Bowl, much like you see in the NBA. It's easier in the NBA because you only have 15 players, and you really only need 6 stud players and 4 stars to really dominate in the NBA.
Well, it's easier in basketball. It's easier in basketball because the NBA is run by players.
Yes,
the NFL, when I say run,
it's right.
The decisions that make that league go come from the players.
What's the news we had this week? That I know this is not a Pelicans forum, but Pelicans podcast. But Anthony Davis's agent announces he's going to demand a trade. If a Saints player demands a trade right now and wants to go to a contending team, let's just say the Saints were in the predicament the Pelicans are in, what happens to him? In the old days, it'd be tough shit. We'll tag your ass. You know, we're just going to franchise you. We'll do whatever we want, and you're going to sit there like Le'Veon Bell, sit out there until we decide what we're going to do with you. You don't demand shit from us.
That's right.
You know, you do what we tell you. Like Tex Schramm used to say, we're the ranchers, you're the cattle, and we can always get more cattle. In the NBA, the cattle tell the ranchers how things are going to be done. And then you have to react accordingly.
Yeah.
You know, there is no franchise tag. We can't tag Anthony Davis. And he can sit there and bitch. He doesn't want to play for us anymore because he wants to go to a winner or he wants to advance in the playoffs. In the NFL, slap a franchise tag on him. We'll pay you the max, and we own you. You're going to sit there, and your choice is either play for us or retire from basketball, and you'll get a regular job. That's your choice.
Yep.
I wish they had that in the NBA. I tell you what, it would make the game a lot better.
Well, I don't follow basketball for personal reasons. I don't follow it nearly like I do football. Let me put it that way, and I'll stay relatively politically correct and shut up from that point on.
Well, I mean, you know, and I agree with you, and it's the same reason I don't follow baseball either. And it's the things we're talking about here. I don't like super teams in the NBA. I feel that instead of encouraging following teams, people follow players, and they're more interested, like we were talking about before, with the name on the back of the jersey instead of the name on the front of the jersey. You know, people who are LeBron James fans have a closet full of Heat, Cavaliers, and now Lakers jerseys. They become Laker fans because LeBron plays for that team now. You know, other than that, they didn't care about the Lakers, you know. And that's the hard part. And the other thing, and this goes more to baseball, the small market teams become farm clubs for the big market teams.
Yes.
And that also hurts because why am I going to spend money to watch the Pelicans play if I know that they will never be able to beat these super teams? They will never be able to compete against these guys and win a championship unless they get a Popovich like the San Antonio Spurs got.
Yeah.
Or you constantly develop young players and good players, and you're cranking out good teams that win despite not having stars. You know, because the Yankees, the Red Sox in baseball, or the Lakers and the Heat and the big market teams get all the super teams in basketball. You know, so a team like the Saints, if this happened in the NFL, a team like the Saints would constantly be losing good players because we worry about, okay, look here, Dallas is going to go grab Alvin Kamara, or Dallas is going to go, or the Giants are going to come get Drew Brees because we can't afford to pay these guys because they can make more money playing in a major market. That sucks. That sucks for the rest of the team, the rest of the fans, because all you are attracting are people who are fans of players, not fans of teams. There's no loyal fan base for a team like that.
That's the reason that I kind of backed off on a while ago, is my not following the NBA is because the playing field is not level.
No.
It's not fair competition. And then you have a player that comes on board that is the head coach. He's the star player. He's the general manager and anything else that he wants to be. And he's shaping the franchise and making decisions that alter the pattern and the course of this entire league. And that just has no appeal to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how are you going to get people to buy in? Like, again, and we'll go back to the Saints. Why is the city so down? Because the Saints lost, and they all feel an identification to the Saints. Okay? They all feel like it's part of the city. It's part of who we are. And it's beyond the fact that we're a football town. You know, it's about, because if we had bad people in the Saints organization, believe me, the fans wouldn't bond with them the way they do. But it's because they are people that we like and like to be with and admire. You know, you think about Cam Jordan and Drew Brees, and, you know, how people love the fact that Alvin Kamara has embraced the city. Why is Steve Gleason so beloved? Steve Gleason, you know, yes, he made that incredible play, and he's suffering from ALS, but what is he doing? He became a New Orleanian. He lives in the city. He got married on Bayou St. John. I mean, all those things that, you know, Archie Manning raised his family here in the city. All those kind of things made New Orleans embrace the Saints in a way that a lot of cities don't embrace their team outside of small markets like a Green Bay, a Kansas City, a Buffalo. That's something we act like, you know, they're part of us. Even though these guys come from all over the country, they become New Orleanians. And that's a unique bond. Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that, but that's why we take losses so personally. And that's what the NBA doesn't allow New Orleans to do. Because if you've got a player saying, you know what, I'm out of here, I cannot handle being a 500 player or worse, or I need to go to a place that's a winner. And people are going to say, Archie Manning went through a hell of a lot worse than you did. Look what he did. He stayed here. Why don't you stay here? If you don't like this city, leave then. We take that personally. We're no longer a fan of yours not because you want to win somewhere, but because you're unwilling to make the sacrifices to win here. And that pisses people off in this city when players say those kind of things. But in the NBA, that's a common attitude. That
you just get your foot in the door so that you can apply for jobs everywhere else in the league. And I have no, like I said, that has absolutely no appeal to me.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about the city being connected with the team, all those examples that you voiced are true, but then you take that and you compound that by the team's reaction to things like Hurricane Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you think about it, to be a professional athlete in a city that has been absolutely devastated by a natural disaster, but you got to still show up for work. And you may be in Louisiana this week, you may be in Texas next week.
Mm-hmm.
You know that takes a lot out of the guys' players. But then, the big thing, were the Saints going to be moved permanently to San Antonio as a result of the devastation brought on by Katrina? And then you have a Saints player that stands up and was good enough to play for just about any other team in this league, and sits in on a conference call with the commissioner, who at the time was Paul Tagliabue.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I tell you what, if you allow this team to be moved out of New Orleans, I will never play in this league again.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of guys that, and that's why Joe Horn is still revered in the city too.
Yeah, absolutely. Morton Anderson the same way. He opened a restaurant here in town. Champions. Pat Swilling stayed here, raised his family here. He, despite the fact he got traded to Detroit, and he became a state's representative, I believe. And those are the kind of things that endear those players to the city. And then you have guys that have local ties. Al Dodd from the early Saints teams. Tom Dempsey stayed here for a while. Danny Abramowitz lived here for a long time, coached a high school team here in town. That kind of stuff endears you to the city, that you just don't see that in other sports. And that's why, fans become so identify these players so much. And then you think about it, okay, you and I, if we see Drew Brees walk down the street today,
I'm going to embarrass you, first of all.
Well, here we go. All right. Well, this is because I see Archie. I don't want to brag. This is not bragging. This is just a fact of life. I've seen Archie Manning many, many, many times in the city, walking around the city. And I said hi to him. I shook his hand. I've talked to him a few times. But, I've seen him. And I go, "What's up, Arch?" And he'd say, "Hey," that kind of thing. But it's that feeling that, yeah, you're a star, but you know what? You're one of us. You're just a regular guy. And Drew Brees feels that in this city. Yes, he is Brees. He is Breezes for a lot of people. But if people saw Drew Brees in a restaurant with his family, no one's going to go up there and go talk to him. People might say, "What's up, Drew?" That kind of thing as they leave. But that's his family. That's his life. We're not going to go bug him. Whereas in other cities, if you're a star player and, Ron James walks into a room, he's getting mobbed. It's just the way we are here. And Hollywood stars have even said that. That people they react, but they don't lose their minds and just invade your personal space. You feel like you're being hounded by the paparazzi. You can't do anything. They said it's a weird vibe just because we're kind of that laid back, and that all plays into it too. They want you to embrace, but it's true.
Yeah.
They want the players to embrace the city the same way we embrace them. And if you don't do that, then people are like, you're out of here. I'm done with you. I got no use for you.
Well, guys that began their careers here and looked like they were on a pattern to really achieve some great things in this league, like a Junior Gillette, Akeem Hicks this week made the comments.
You talk crap about the city and the team, you're dead to us.
That's right.
That's the reality. You're dead.
Not just are you dead to us, you might just die here with us. But and I've been many places, and I've had the opportunity before to go to other stadiums and to see other fan bases interact in a game day atmosphere. There is absolutely nothing that I have ever seen that even remotely comes close to New Orleans. And I don't say that because this is my team, but it's not even comparable. Even a fan base like Dallas, they have probably one of the largest fan bases in the world, and it was so much different, and I was really surprised because I expected the interaction and the everything like it was in New Orleans, but to begin with, it's so spread out over such a huge area in Dallas, whereas New Orleans, you got like 2 blocks. So I guess that makes a difference too. Did you see Bree's open letter on Instagram?
Yes, I did. Best comment I read about it too was we just got put in the pregame huddle with Drew Brees, because that's the kind of speech he gave to his teammates in the huddle.
Yeah.
That
it kind of puts things into perspective, because this guy just lost. Depending on what happens next year, this may be the closest that he ever gets to playing in another Super Bowl. And if there's any player on the New Orleans Saints that lost in losing this NFC Championship game, it's Brees, because you can almost rest assured that MVP is out the window now. The only saving grace for that trophy is the fact that Mahomes' season only lasted about 3 hours longer than Brees did. But I thought it was a real classy thing for him to do, and what has become the expect with Brees.
Yeah. And once again, that's why people love the city. Love him and love the Saints, because that's something a player doesn't have to say. And I can't imagine Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, just go down the list of all those superstar mercenary players that are playing for the Rams this year. Even Aaron Donald. I can't see them writing a letter like that to the fans of Los Angeles, for example. I can't see someone with the Giants or the Jets or Miami or
the Patriots.
Oakland, Patriots, you name it. I can't see them saying something like that. I can see a Kansas City Chiefs saying this. I can see a Green Bay Packers saying this.
Yes.
But because that's or a Buffalo Bill, because that's the relationship they had with the fans in that city. But yeah, that's just one more reason why people love him.
Okay, real quickly before we have to wrap things up here, what do you think the biggest priority in the off season is going to be once we get this sham of a get together in Megatron's butthole done with?
Well, I think it's got to be upgrading the offense. It's unbelievable we have to say this, but you have to upgrade that receiving core. Yes, I know that we had a lot of injuries, but they need more youth in there. They need more polished players on that offense. They need a tight end. They need a young, professional, polished number 2 receiver to go along with Michael Thomas, who can take the top off that defense. And I'm not talking like a Ted Ginn Jr. I'm talking like a speed threat. They need a consistent underneath guy. People are going to think I'm crazy, but Cole Beasley went off on the coaching staff and the ownership of the Cowboys. He's not going back there. But
Please.
a Cole Beasley would do really well with the Saints.
Oh, my God.
Yes, he's short, but I could use a Cole Beasley.
I think back about a week ago, all he does is catch the ball.
Right. Yeah.
To use your quote.
Mm-hmm.
Real quickly, now this is how I want this show to end tonight, and I came up with this idea when I saw it today. You tweeted out something. I want that to be how we sign off tonight. Could you repeat that?
My tweet. I'm gonna go pull this up. No, because it was only retweeted about 10,000 times. It was unbelievable, because it's one of those things. All right, first off, one of the things I tweeted, one of the things I wrote was I would like, if I was wrong to fantasize that, I would like to see the baptismal scene of The Godfather reenacted with the officials from that game being treated like the 5 families, heads of the 5 families, and various members of the Saints coaching staff acting as the button men.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, Gail gets Roger in the house with her and wants to know who approached Roger about assigning these guys to call this game, because it did come out that some of these guys were from from the Los Angeles area, Southern California area. And for those who don't remember, the internet never forgets, during the official strike, the replacement officials that were calling games, they had one they found out was a Saints fan from his Facebook posting, and they yanked him from a Saints Carolina game. Mm-hmm. So it's not unprecedented that the league takes action against officials who they suspect, in this case, because he had Facebook postings of him with a Saints jersey on and everything else, who that gave them good reason to yank this guy. But anyway, they suspect may have a bias towards one team or another. So it's not unprecedented for that. So anyway, so to continue with the Godfather scenario, I had this image in my head of Gail's discussing with Roger Goodell, who approached him to have these guys call this game. Roger admits to his guilt. She hands him a ticket to Atlanta. He goes and gets in the car, and in the back seat, there's Sean Payton. He says, "Hello, Roger." And you know what happens to Carlo in that movie after that scene. So anyway, with that in mind, I said, because this has just been eating at me for a week, and this was on Saturday. At this point, I want the Saints 2019 season to be a Saints revenge tour where we run up the score on every team, because the narrative is, well, the Saints had other opportunities to win the game. And when Peyton gets called on it, says, well, we didn't want a non-call to decide the game for us. So when we blow you out, we are taking advantage of all these opportunities you said we should have taken advantage of. And we're not going to let the officials decide the game when we beat you 73-0. So that's just my attitude right now.
I agree 150%.
Yeah, my mind's been going to a lot of dark places right now in regards to this game. Speaking of baseball, I had the baseball's bat scene come to my head from the Untouchables. I mean, my wife showed me the footage of all the missed calls on Facebook, and I just said, why don't you just tell me to go get my Shine box? Because that's the reaction I have to every one of these damn missed calls. So anyway,
I'm like Bobby Boucher. What's your number?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Please go subscribe to our show on iTunes and on YouTube. Join us on our Facebook page, Under the Dome Podcast. We love you all. Let us hear from you.
I was told to have some NFL Films music, so we can do 10 seconds of this to take us out here. After Sunday's illegitimate game, it will be a new game. So with that in mind, we'll use Tom Hayden's A New Game from the NFL Films library. For those who remember this stuff. I have a whole collection of this music. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us, and good night, everybody.